real simple question. Different countries, different cultures, communication, language. Can you describe the challenge of that? Because you're the details and the scope and dimension of what you've talked about is brilliant but daunting to me listening to you. And you're going in to deal with so many different nations. Dubai was the meeting place.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi. Yeah,
Abu
yeah,
Dhabi.
Middle Eastern for sure.
Yeah. And how did communication occur where people understood one another?
So the IHF operates under the understanding that English is the international language of hockey.
Yeah.
So we, wherever we go, everything's done in English. And, like Harold Springfield, for example, he's Austrian, so he speaks German as his native tongue. He married a lady from China. She speaks, I'm guessing, Mandarin because there's different dialects. And so Harry's, she's learning English, he's learning Mandarin, or they did at some point. We're pretty insular here in North America. Most of us only speak one language, and the French Canadians and the people that study French in school, being as we're in Western Canada, it's not quite as prevalent out here, but there's some Canadians that can speak both French and English, and I'm not even sure. Harry probably understands a few other languages as well, but it's not unusual for us, and I've embedded myself in different nations, like, in South Korea, and I've worked in, I forget, I think it's close to 30 different countries now. And most of those, their native language isn't English, but we try to operate in English as much as we can. The people as general secretaries are all pretty good in bilingualism, with English being one of their languages. Most of them speak more than two languages. I've worked with people that speak 9 or 10 languages fluently, can converse, can read, can write. Boy, is it humbling. So at this level, it's easier. It's actually easier, Wally, to communicate, because the people that get these roles to oversee their nation, that's one of the requirements. Is you have to either be quite fluent in conversational English, at least, because you can always use Google Translate for documents or whatever. But by and large, most of them are really, really good. And then, of course, you've got different translation programs on your phone. And one guy in our sessions, relied on that an awful lot. And he's really working on becoming better in English. He's pretty good now. He's improving. And, but it's a process. Where it becomes more of a challenge is when you get outside of this high level organizational governance role, and you get into the more granular, on the ground, skates on the ground, boots on the ground level, where you've got coaches in these different countries that maybe are more predisposed to only speaking their native tongue. And I mean, like I say, I've embedded myself in a bunch of different countries through Europe and Asia where that's been the case. And English isn't, I'm using English and they're using, we're both using sign language, like drawing on whiteboards. Typically what I do is I create a glossary, or a list of words that are often used in that particular language, and like words like face off and offside, and kind of English words like this to describe the game often don't have a corresponding word or phrase in that other language. Like you'd be surprised, some of the locals in different languages actually use hockey terms in English, and it means the same across the board. But I try to create this glossary so that I have a phonetic guide to what what words they would use in their country to, you know, what is pass, what is skate, what is shoot, what words do I use there, and then maybe a short list of adjectives, fast, slow, timing, the different words that I can try to learn myself in that native language. And I share those glossaries. I print them out and I'll laminate them and share them with the coaches so that we try to meet in the middle somewhere. When we're down to that local level, when direct language communication becomes more of an issue. So, between that and acting out, drawing, a lot of times a translator will be present. So, we find a way, figure it out, right? As you say, feel, we got to figure it out. We're there to solve problems.
Yeah, you very interesting. You would come up with figure it out because
Yeah.
the essence of the game is
Yeah.
letting them play and figure it out. And here you are dealing with a myriad of different levels, different countries. It's daunting to the listeners, I'm sure, to hear what you're doing. And it's amazing that hockey is one sport that's really being expanded and becoming a world sport. And
it's everywhere. It's quite amazing, Wally. Like, who would have thought? Like, I mean, I'll just, before I get ready to sign off here in about 5 minutes, the list of countries that were there, in Almaty, Kazakhstan, which is an amazing country, an amazing city that I'd never been to. And I'll tell you what, it's right on the foothills of a mountain range, and then there's the steppe, and it's just bare, just wind blows, but you're right up on this beautiful mountain. But here's the countries that were there. So from the Middle East, we had Bahrain, Oman, United Arab Emirates, and then this last one, also, we had Kuwait and Qatar. I used to say Qatar. I think it's Qatar. Anyway, I mean, you're in a freaking desert, man. It was 50 Celsius. They set a record at 52 degrees Celsius the week before we went. And yet they're playing winter sports, and they love it. It's a small group, but boy, they love it. And then Nepal, Thailand, Indonesia, Chinese Taipei, which is also known as Taiwan, Philippines, Korea, Macau, Uzbekistan, Malaysia, Iran, Kyrgyzstan, and India. What a mix, right? And then we had, I said Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan. Kazakhstan was involved at the first one. They weren't at the second one. But it truly is a global game. And, it's the power of sport, like right across culture, right around the world. And the IHF has further plans. Like they're so happy with this template that we've, worked on for them and kind of brought to life, that this is a 2-year pilot project. So we're anticipating another face-to-face meeting with the Asian and Middle Eastern countries later this fall. And then I think a fourth one will help complete that cycle the following year. But we're also, we're going to do a 1-year project, kind of shrink the scope of this one down, and provide a 1-year program, in strategic planning and leadership to the European nations, also scheduled this fall, and then beginning in the spring of 2026, they'd like to extend it to. There's 5 or 6 South American countries that are pushing now, and organizing, and so to do another, I think, a 2-year project with the South American countries. And then Africa has, I think, 4 or 5 countries. and they've got a few rinks over there. They're playing inline ball hockey, and they want to get involved, and they've already started organizing, and so that's another one they're looking at doing. I don't know if it's a 1 or a 2 year project with them starting sometime in 2026. So boy, the IHF is really living up to their own strategic plan and their own vision and mission and values, and trying to grow the game. So it's just, boy, just to play a small role in that is quite gratifying.
Well, it's certainly gratifying to listen to